pretend to be my brother. Only me bound up. To my me no paramount. A boy I come like okay. It's okay like them say. Trouble no they play. Look. It's 12 a.m. in the morning. I still dance for your colors. Don't do me like this, oh yeah. Aramiti walona, yeah. Cause I don't dare wait, I don't dare receive, so yeah. And I see the prayer, I still the prayer, yeah. Oh, Dada, oh my ego now for you, oh my ego for you, oh my rapa now for you, yeah. Oh my rapa for you, oh me now for you, yeah. Okay for you, all the motor for my garage for you, yeah. The motor in the garage for you, yeah. Oh my ego now for you, ego now for you, yeah. Oh my rapa now for you, yeah. Oh my rapa now for you, yeah. Oh me now for you, yeah. All the motor for my garage for you, yeah. All the motor for the garage for you. OBO, I dance. That's a minute for you. All the best for you. I put my life on the line for you. Nobody else but you. Baby, boo. Shake, baby. You don't say you be my boo. If I can't leave you, oh, baby, I be boo. Baby, I be fool. Say I want to show you my world, girl. I said I never do you, I never do you. I want to show you my world, cause all my ego now for you. All my ego for you. All my rapa now for you, yeah. Rapa for you. Go me now for you, yeah. Okay for you. All the motor for my garage for you, yeah. All the motor in the garage for you, yeah. All my ego now for you. I got now for you, girl. All my rapa now for you, yeah. All my rapa now for you, girl. Go me now for you, yeah. All the motor for my garage for you. All the motor for the garage for you, yeah. Badass. Tell me what you want. Tell me what you need. Oh shit. Dr. Dollar Entertainment. She no like it, got her naughty, but she go chop if you give her cucumber. Walk out from Transamadi till her leg begin shake her with a locumba. Baby, make her keep it solid, make her even mix some with her lay and I walk pow. Hey, let me tell you. dey feel and da. She dey feel and da. She dey feel and da. She dey feel and yeah. She said till infinity, infinity, yo. She said make her put it in, oh no. She said till infinity, infinity, yo. She said make her put it in, oh no. Oh yeah, take Kalauska, cover me like babushka. Booty like to get my kinwa, and your body you different animal. Sanga looking like a JJ. Make I beat on like I'm Sonny Ricky. It's what you do with the banana. Go determine if you go get us for banana. Very much show yourself, do what you do. Use Kayamata, you feel use Juju. They don't play me your tape for artillery. You they use collect boy salary. Make I put firewood for the fire. Send you the wire. Now you I go am and I no go retire. Bedroom boys feel like say you dead for the choir. Don't even so lati do me lala. She dey feel and da. She dey feel and da. She dey feel and da. She dey feel and do. She said till infinity, yo. She said make her put it in, oh no. She said till infinity, yo. Infinity, yo. She said make her put it in, oh no. She said till infinity, yo. She said make her put it in, oh no. She said till infinity, yo. Infinity, yo. She said make her put it in, no. Make her put firewood for the fire. Send you the wire. Now you I go am and I no go retire. Bedroom voice feel like say you dead for the choir. Do re mi so lati do me la la.
All right. We are here again today for another installment of Surviving COVID, a free business webinar that has been put together by Event Oven. And today we'll be talking about something very interesting, which I have tagged building a solid foundation for business success. But before we go into that, I would like to just talk briefly about what this webinar is about and why we are doing it and why we want to remain consistent with it. So in 2020, a lot of businesses had to shut down because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And due to that, a lot of people lost their jobs. Some people lost their means of livelihood. They couldn't feed their families and all of that. A lot of things just happened. Um, so we've now put together this webinar to try as much as possible to help people who have lost their jobs or lost their business, or maybe the businesses are not even doing as well as they used to anymore. We want to use this opportunity to help them get back on their feet. Or for those who have lost their job, we also believe that this can also be an opportunity for them to start businesses and begin to also create jobs and feed themselves and their family. And hopefully, as they're starting this business, they're also solving critical problems within our community. So this is the whole essence of this webinar. Today's session has been tagged building a solid foundation for business success. And this is very, very important because a number of us have fantastic ideas and all of that. And we've seen businesses, when the pandemic happened, we saw some businesses that survived through the pandemic, and we saw some that could barely even make it through the first month of the lockdown. And the difference between these two kinds of businesses is basically the kind of foundations that they had. So we'll be going deeper into how you build that kind of foundation, a kind of foundation that can withstand anything life throws at your business, maybe a pandemic hits, or there's a recession, or something, anything could happen, In some businesses, even die just because the founder is sick or the founder dies. And then immediately the founder dies, the business just dies with them. So what we're looking at today is how do you create that kind of business that would survive anything, regardless of what is thrown at it. Uh, I'll share my screen now so that I can begin my presentation. Give me, while I do that, let me play a song for you from Born Boy, our new Grammy Award winner.
Say my baby, you know Sunday or Wendy, you coming like Oyeka or Wendy, and if you give, I could take you, check you. I still just start to your case, you cannot go make a mistake, you, and if you leave, I could press you. I've been a setup, you don't do your booty, now your body better. I no go live, I never make a no regret. Every day different palava. The other day when I jam Natasha, she say I give Lala day banana. But no be me to a more na na na. One time for my baby, you know Sunday or Wendy, coming like Oyeta or Wendy, and if you give, I could take you. Check you. I still they start your case, you cannot go make a mistake, you. And if you leave, I could press you. Because you be my order. I put something for your hands. You give me some another. You go be my baby mama. I will push and go. Show more. I say, body to gun. You don't say you don't get when I do it for my.
All right. Let's jump right into it. So, like I said, we'll be talking about how you build a solid foundation that guarantees business success. The first thing I'd like to do now, before I go into the details of that, is to quickly tell you about Vent Oven Limited. So, Vent Oven Limited is catalyzing business success and organizational growth in Africa. We do this by providing core back office functions that aid business operations in order to maximize profit. So I'll explain that in details. So we have a very strong belief that most of the challenges that are faced in Africa can only be solved by the private sector, businesses essentially, right? We believe that the government cannot adequately solve all of these problems for us. Hence why we need to create businesses around solving this problem, businesses that are actually solving these problems. But we also realize that for a business to function optimally, there are some things that are needed that excuse me, that might not be the core expertise of the person who is founding that business. So as Vent Oven, we provide all of those back office functions that business needs to survive, but the business founder or whoever is running the business does not necessarily have to have the skill set. For example, accounting, audit, human resource, um, technology and IT support, and a number of things like that. If you want to know more about Vent Oven, you can visit our website at www.ventoven.com. Okay, so now we'll jump into what we're talking about. You see, the main purpose of a foundation, and it's important for us to know this, because if we don't understand this, we might not fully grasp most of the other things that we're going to talk about in this session. Right. The main purpose of a foundation is to hold the structure above it and to keep it upright. That is, to keep it standing. So what that means is that the foundation is that structure that is there to ensure that whatever is on top of it remains standing regardless of what is thrown at it. A good and strong foundation keeps the building standing while the forces of nature wreak havoc. You know, I remember when we were growing up and we used to play outside and we were playing in the sand. We build all these funny structures in the sand, we use wood and we build it. And then our dog will just be passing by, our neighbor's dog will just be passing by, and then before you know it, the dog just hits it a bit and then the structure falls, right? That's because the foundation did not have a solid, the structure did not have a foundation that is solid enough to carry and withstand that external pressure or external force, right? So a good foundation is designed to keep the building standing regardless of whatever external force is applied to it. And then if we look at it, right? Most times the foundation is not seen, it's not the bling bling, it's not the good stuff. Most times it's hidden. It's something that you have to do, but people do not necessarily need to see you do or know that you have done, or know that you are doing, rather, or know that you've done. Yeah, that also works. So what the things we'll be talking about now might not be the so-called apparent. They might not be the things that they would tell you about in business school. But some of these things would determine whether the business would grow and would survive. The same way a plant needs to have a root in the ground in order for it to grow upwards. It's the same way your business needs to have a solid foundation in the ground in order for it to grow upwards, right? Um, this is why this is very important. Most businesses start, and then there are statistics that say that a lot of businesses don't even make it through the first 12 months, and the ones that make it through the first 12 months barely make it to 3 years, right? And that says a lot. That says that a lot of people are actually trying. They are trying to do stuff. They are trying to solve problems, but they are not just able to push the needle forward and make things happen as they should. This is why we're looking at this topic today. So I'd like to ask, what are you building? That's a question every one of us needs to be able to answer. What am I building? You need to ask yourself that sincere question. What exactly are you building? Because what you're building is what will determine the kind of foundation that you would have to put together or lay, right? Um, this is why this is important. And most times people just go with the flow of, oh, I'm starting a new business. Oh, I want to make money. Oh, and that's good. That's great. But this is something that you need to be able to answer. This is a question that you need to be able to answer. What are you building? Right? Are you building a skyscraper or are you building a bungalow? Now, both of these are buildings, right? But both have different features. They have different characteristics. They serve different purposes. I'll take a skyscraper, for example. A skyscraper would go, some skyscrapers go as high as two, 200 meters above the sky. Some even go much more than that, right? Now, some skyscrapers have multiple levels, what we call floors, right? In this part of the world, they have multiple levels, right? And those kind of these kind of buildings are built to withstand much more pressure, much more force, much more. They have much more inflow into them. They have much more. They are much more utilized than bungalows. Now, a bungalow on the other end, most times just if some people now build bungalows and then they have what they call attic inside. So It's then I don't, in my opinion, I don't think that's still a bungalow, because now you now have another floor inside there. You still calling it bungalow. I think it's cheat, but anyway, that's fine. So like this picture that I use now, they would call this a bungalow, right? But you can see that there's another structure there, right? There's another structure somewhere here, right? Which some most people call attic or whatever. And within the structure, sometimes they store things. Sometimes people convert it to a small room and things like that. Typically, the skyscrapers are typically higher maintenance, right? They are more expensive to maintain, because I mean, it's some of them span up to 100 stories high, some of them span up to 150 stories high, some of them, right? A bungalow is just one floor, and if you're lucky, you have attic if you're able to build that or fit that into it. The bungalow would only take a few people in it. Say, for example, if bungalow can accommodate about 10 people. A skyscraper will probably, excuse me, a skyscraper will probably be able to accommodate about 10,000 people, right? The bungalow on this end would be valued at a much lower price compared to the skyscraper. Let's say the bungalow is valued at about uh, $150,000, right? Or maybe 150,000 is a lot. Let's say $100,000. The skyscraper will be valued sometimes in billions of dollars. The bungalow, again, on this end, has the materials that are being used to build it. Sometimes it can use brick, but in countries like the US, they do a lot of wooden construction for the exterior of their buildings, right? And then inside they use dry walls. The skyscraper most times is made of steel, reinforced steel, right? The bungalow, again, and I'm trying to do this comparison so that we would understand what the difference is here, and then we can, before we go deeper into what we're going to talk about. The bungalow, again, is typically just for living. So people just that is typically a family home for one family, or maybe a single person living alone, or just a few friends, right? But skyscrapers can serve multiple purposes. There are skyscrapers that have offices in them, they have gyms in them, they have theaters in them, they have hospitals in them inside one skyscraper, right? There are some skyscrapers that within the same skyscraper you have a bank, you have so many things going on at the same time. It has capacity to take much more than what the bungalow can possibly take. Now, I've asked this question again. What exactly are you building? And the reason why I'm asking this question is simple. Because what you're building is what will determine what kind of foundation you have to lay. Now, let me bring it to the business. Let me tie it to business. Most entrepreneurs, we call them businessmen or businesswomen, right, in this part of the world, are building bungalows, and that's fine. So they just want something that is able to fit them, pay their bills, put a little cash in their pocket, and they're fine. And that's okay, right? That's fine. Uh, However, if you're really trying to build something that would outlive you, something that would make a mark within the society and within in the world entirely, you have to consider building your business as though you're building a skyscraper, right? Now, the reason for that is simple. The requirements for building a bungalow is totally different. The energy it takes, the amount of resources it takes, the time it takes is totally different from what it takes to build a skyscraper. So this is why it is important for you to be clear on what you want to achieve. What exactly are you trying to build? Are you just trying to build a business that will just pay your bills, put some money in your pocket, and then you're good? If that's it, then that's fine. Then you can go ahead and do that. But if you really want to build something massive, a one of the last year, Paystack was acquired for about $200 million. This year, Florida Wave became valued at over $1 billion, became a unicorn, right? Those businesses were not built just to pay somebody enough money for them to survive and all of that. Those were businesses that were built to stand the test of time, and most importantly, to solve critical problems that is affecting an entire ecosystem, an entire community. So this is why it's important for you to be clear on what you're trying to build. What you're trying to build is what will determine the kind of foundation you need to lay. If you're trying to build a skyscraper, some skyscrapers, I think, in fact, I want to believe that most skyscrapers would have their foundation go as deep as 80 meters below the ground. Now, let me give you a perspective to that, right? When you stand inside your house, the distance from the floor to the roof, right, is typically about 3 meters, typically, depending on who built your house. So that means that the foundation of your house the foundation of a skyscraper is almost 30 times, maybe over 20 times the height of the floor. If you measure the height of the floor of your house to the roof of your house, that is to put it in perspective for you. So most skyscrapers have their, depending on how high, however, depending on how high the skyscraper would go or how high it is to be built, some skyscrapers have their foundation go as deep as 80 meters below the ground level. But for bungalows, if you are able to do up to 0.6 meters below ground level, you're actually fine, right? Depending on what you're trying to build on it anyway. But typically you're good, right? So first of all, imagine how long it would take to build the foundation of a skyscraper compared to how long it would take to build the foundation of a bungalow. That's one. Two, imagine how much resources you need to build the foundation of a skyscraper compared to how much you need to build the foundation of a bungalow. Now, imagine that the guy building the skyscraper sees the guy trying to build the bungalow, and in a day, he has put together his foundation and is good. The skyscraper guy will probably need a month or more to build his own foundation, right? Within the time he's building his foundation, it might not even have gone up to 50% or 30%. This guy building the bungalow would have finished building the bungalow and he'll be living in it already. So it goes back to the question, what exactly are you building? Are you trying to build a skyscraper or are you trying to build a bungalow? Is your business, do you want your business to be something that will be solving a problem on a global scale, or you just want something that will feed you, put enough money in your pocket for you to be able to live and for you to be able to get the basic things that you need, right? This is a decision that you have to make. I can't make that decision for you. However, if you decide that you want to build something that is going to be relevant on a global scale, then the things we're going to talk about going forward is for you. If you decide that you just want to build something that works, that just gives you enough cash, and you don't necessarily want to build something massive, you just want to have a business that feeds you, feeds your family, and that's fine. We'll have another session for businesses like that, but this one would focus more on businesses that are trying to set themselves up to function and to become relevant on a global scale. So let's go into it. How do you build this solid foundation for your business? Right? How exactly can you get this done? The first thing is that you must understand the problem, right? See, most times people just want to start businesses without understanding what problem they're trying to solve. What is the problem? What exactly is the problem that this business you're trying to start or this idea that you have is trying or is going to solve? If you do not have that, you do not have any business trying to go forward or go further to try to build a globally relevant business because the foundation is already messed up. So that's the first question you need to ask yourself. What problem am I trying to solve? And when we talk about this, most people just gloss through to it. They just say something just so that it sounds good. But this is where the problem is most times. Most people think they're actually solving a problem, but most times they are solving the symptoms and not necessarily the problem itself. So because of that, the whatever they are trying to do does not always yield the desired result. So what problem are you trying to solve? What problem is that business trying to solve? And there are very easy ways for you to find what problem you're trying to solve, what problem or problems to solve. If you look around you, there are so many, especially if you live in Africa, right? There are so many problems out there that need immediate and urgent solutions. And while most people think, there's so many problems, there's so much, there's this, there's that, I often tell people that most times those problems actually pose opportunities for people who are able to see beyond the problems. So if you look around you, what problem is there that you've seen that you think that you have the skill set or you have enough knowledge to be able to solve? Another thing there is for you to look at it and say, is there a problem that somebody is trying to solve now, but I have been able to figure out a better way to solve that problem? That's another one. Or is there a problem that people have now and they've been able to find a way around solving it, but I have a better solution that can better solve this problem for them, right? Now, this solution would have to be different, but still serve the purpose for which they intend for it to serve. And we'll talk more about that in a bit. But the foundation is this: what problem are you trying to solve? The truth is, if you are solving a problem, right, people would always come to you for solutions because people are always seeking solutions. Everyone, every one of us, every time we have a problem, we often go to the people who we know would solve the problem for us. We often go to the people who we feel will solve the problem for us. So people always gravitate towards solution and problem solvers. The same way, resources would also gravitate towards solutions and towards problem solvers. So here, what we're saying is simple. You need to ensure that your business is solving a problem first of all. Then we can go into the next thing. Now you've been able to identify, let's assume, I'm going to assume now that you've been able to identify a problem that you're trying to solve. The next thing is, what should that solution be? What solution should you prefer to that problem, and how do you come about that solution? Most businesses are just out there, and most people just go out and say, I want to start a business, I want to start a business, and they're not really solving a problem. So that's why I'm asking this question again. Is your business really solving a problem? Now, that solution has to be something that the people who you're solving it for believe or see it as a solution. Most times people come and say, oh, I have this idea. Oh, I have this, I have that. It's going to solve this problem. And the people who have a problem are thinking, no, it's not going to solve my problem. It's just going to take more money from me, right? And then the conversation then changes to, help a brother now, support my business, blah, 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 this, that. And then we get a lot of that on social media, saying support my also support. See, if you are solving a problem, if you have a solid solution, you won't have to beg people. Most times what we do here is that we build businesses that require us to have to beg people to patronize us in order for us to survive, or in order for the business to survive. The moment you need to the moment people need to know you or like you to be able to interact with your product or your service, then you're already at a disadvantage. Because what that then means is that people are now people's decision is now dependent on how they feel about you, and not about the fact that you are solving a problem for them. And I always use this analogy. If you had headache and you were doing a road trip that was going to last about that or that would last about 13 hours, and you have a nagging headache, right? And you had about 10,000 naira in your pocket at that time, and this headache is bad. And then somebody says, I have a pain reliever or a painkiller. However, I'm only willing to give you this for 5,000 naira. There's every chance that you give the person that 5,000 naira. Even if the person had asked, you know what, we have about 8 hours to go on this trip, you have a nagging headache, I'll give you this for 10,000 naira. There's every chance that you probably want to just give the person that money just so that you can get that painkiller and get rid of that headache. At that point, you are more concerned about just getting your solution, just getting that solution. At that point, you're not thinking about the cost. Once the headache is gone and you arrive at your destination, you cannot be like, bros, but you're wicked. You just charged me 10,000 naira for painkiller, common painkiller that you bought for 100 naira, right? And that's how it is. With business as well, you would be at an advantage if you've created a solution that people actually want. And for that to happen, you must understand the problem that they have so that you can solve it appropriately. Once you do that, people will naturally gravitate towards you for you to solve their problem. And you don't have to beg people to say, please, can you patronize me? Please support my also. And a lot of times we see this a lot around this side of the world, where you go ahead and patronize somebody who is offering a service or selling something similar to someone you know, and the person comes and gets angry at you, like, why didn't you patronize? Why did you go and patronize that person? And I often tell people that if you were offering better value than that person, I wouldn't want to take my money to someone who is offering less value. So that just tells me that that person is offering me more value than you're offering me. Now, I'm not saying most people mix this up and they think that value just means that um, it is a better quality or and all of that. No. See, value is there are two types of value. There is actual value, right, which is also called real value, and there is what we call perceived value, right? So, for actual value, the actual value is the value of that thing itself, is the real value of it. However, perceived value is even more important than the actual value, because your actual value, let's say the actual value of a product is 2,000 naira, but people would look at this product and be like, I can't pay up to 2,000 naira for this, because maybe it costs about 1,800 naira to produce the product, and you want to mark up with just 200 naira. So let's say the actual value of that product is about 2,000 naira. But someone looks at it and say, what? 2,000 naira for this? No, the best I can pay for this is 500 naira. That 500 naira is the perceived value of that product. And that is what matters. Now, there might be another product that costs 2,000 naira to make, but people perceive it to have a value of 100,000 naira. They will be willing to pay that 100,000 naira. So that's why it is important for you to understand this concept of actual value or real value and perceived value. Now, let me go back to my analogy. If you come to me and you tell me, oh, I offer this service, but you didn't patronize, you went and patronized that other person, the first thing that would come to my mind is that person is offering me more value than you are offering me, right? And the reason why I would think that is could be so many things. I'll, but this is it. It is most important that you understand what value is to me in that product at that time. For some people, value for them at that time would be the product that is the cheapest. Maybe they don't have so much cash at that time. For some people, value for them at that time could be that the product that is the nearest to them or easiest for them to acquire, or the service that is easiest for them to access. For some people, value at that time could be that this product is the one that saves them the most time. It might not necessarily be the best quality, but at that time it's saving them the most time than any other one. So value is dependent on the person, the user, the client, right? So if you build your business such that it offers value to the user and client and is actually solving a problem for them, you wouldn't have to beg them to come and patronize you. You wouldn't have to beg them to support your hustle. They will just come because once once a problem sees a solution, the problem is attracted to the solution. So once people who have problem see a solution to that their problem, they are automatically attracted to that solution. And once they are attracted and they see value, they'll pay you for it. So that's how it's important that we all think like that as business owners. So yes, is your business really solving a problem? And the last thing I would say here is don't think that because you have a great idea, people tell you you have a great idea, you're solving a problem. Sometimes you might just be solving the symptoms of that problem. And most times when you solve symptoms, you do not last because even if people interact with it today and they pay you for it, tomorrow they pay you for it. After some time, they'll realize that this thing is not really solving my problem. It's just solving symptoms of the problem. And over time, they will not want to keep patronizing you. So it's important that you try to find, there's something called the root cause analysis, which you can Google and you can check online to understand how that works. With that, you can find what the root cause of the problem you're trying to solve it so that you can better solve that problem. And I think that's the best thing that can happen to any business, for you to be solving a problem from its root cause. Once you're able to do that, people people will be looking for you. People will run after you. They'll run after you with plenty money. Right. So the next thing that you need to also to consider here, we've talked about ensuring that you identify what the problem is and you come up with the best solution to that problem, a solution that is solving it from the root cause. The next thing is that you must also understand who the users or who the clients are, because the best you understand them, the best you know them, the best you can solve their problems for them. I'll use an example. So there was a man who wanted to do something in a community. He wanted to create a what do they call it? He went to this community and the community did not have water, did not have they had to walk. Typically the children will walk hours to go to the well or to go to the river rather to get water. And he was like, this thing is not hard now. He said, let me make a well for them, right? So he went ahead, he got some money together, and he created, they built a well for that community, right? They built this well right in the middle of the community. Now, he came back a few months after and realized that these guys were not using the well. He was wondering what's going on. I spent plenty money to put this together and you guys are not utilizing it. Because when he came, he saw that the well was working fine, right? but the children would still walk miles, right, to the river to go and fetch water, manually carrying it on their head. So he said, what happened? So he went and asked the community folks, like, guys, why are you not using this resource that I've created for you? And they said, you do not understand. Now, within this community, most of them lived in one room apartment. So most of the family, so father, mother, and their children lived in one room apartment. So in the morning, typically the parents would send their children to go and fetch water, or in the afternoon, in the evening, to go and fetch water at the river. Because they only had one room, the times when those children go out to fetch water is the only alone time that the couple have together to do a few things, if to just get to know each other better, right? So they then said that we do not have the luxury of space or rooms in our homes for us to have privacy when the children are around. So this is the only opportunity we have for them to give us some privacy so that we can get to spend time together. So you're well, yes, you think you're solving a problem for us, right? But you're actually not solving a problem. If he had solved their housing problem, then the well would have made sense. Or even if it was a borehole, it would have made more sense. So do you understand what I'm saying now when I say that sometimes it's not enough to just solve a problem, because sometimes you might just be solving the symptoms and you're not solving the root cause. Right. So this is very, very important. So you must understand your users well. The more you understand them, the more you know them, the better you can provide or solve their problem. The better your solution can make sense. The better you can make your solution make sense to them. And the better you can get them to perceive value in that solution that you're offering. Our time is fast spent, so we need to move faster. Of all of this, now we bring all of this together. Now you've figured out what the problem is. You've figured out what your solution is. You now understand the people that are going to use it, your clients, your users, people that you're going to offer this product or service to. The big question now is, how do you make money? Because if you're doing a business and you're not making money, you are just running charity. Right. So how do you make money? And how do you make money sustainably? So, another thing that you need to consider is not just enough for you to make money, you must also be making profit. So the business must be profitable. A lot of people do businesses that at the end of the day, they are not actually profitable. They are making money, but they are not making profits. So, but they don't know, because there's this illusion that comes with when you're making money, that you just think that you're good, but you're not. A lot of times, most businesses, in fact, most uh, sole proprietorship, uh, most sole proprietorship run at losses. Much more often than not, they run at losses because they do not know that they are not making money. They're not making profit. They just feel like they're making money. And as long as they have enough money to pay the bills, keep the business going, they think they're good, but they're actually running at a loss. So how do you profit from the solution in a sustainable way? And notice that I marked sustainable there, right? I marked it red because that is very critical. It's not enough for you to make profit today, and 2 months down the line, you're not able to make profit from that business anymore. So how do you ensure that this business is able to make profit sustainably? That is, over the years, over time, the business continuously generates income and generates profit for itself, right? In order for it in order for the business to become sustainable, that is, in order for the business to keep going on and on and on without dying. An important thing to note here is that for you to be able to uh, profit from this solution, you must have what we call a business model. Some people would prefer a business plan, but I prefer a business model. The business model simply talks about how you convert this solution into a money making venture. Um, it helps you detail some things. There's this something that I would like you to look out for. It's called business model canvas, and in there it will help you see where one of the things that it has below there. I wish I could show you this, but we don't have enough time. Below there is, it has where your costs, what your cost points are where your revenue streams are. So where are the places money is coming into the business from, and where are the places where money is going to from the business. And that is very critical, because with that you would then know where to intensify efforts. Um, so that you can generate more revenue, and also know where you can cut your costs as well. Because see, money is the lifeblood of a business. Once a business does not have money, once a business does not have cash flow, the business will eventually die. So this is really important. And in the course of this webinar, we've talked about a number of ways to generate this profit, how to create a community around your business, how to use social media to sell your products to generate profits. But most important thing is that if you are solving a problem, right, money would find you. Yeah, I'll say that again. If you are actually solving a real problem, money will find you. Money always go to those who solve problems. So if you can just ensure that your business is actually solving a problem, then you're sure that people who have that problem will bring money to you to solve their problem and to move faster. Um, the last thing is the institution. Now, we've talked about this basic foundation that you need to put in place. Ultimately, what we're trying to say here is that you need to have that mindset that you are building an institution that is, in essence, I'll compare it to you're building a skyscraper, something that would outlive you, something that will be of global relevance, right? So, how do you build this business into an institution that can run without you? And this is very important, because in order for your business to grow, the business will not grow beyond your capacity as an entrepreneur. Right. However, if you are able to build it into an institution, it will surpass your capacity, and it will then grow at the pace of the institution itself, because it becomes a body on its own that can run by its own. So, with or without you, the business becomes a living organism. Right. So, how do you build this your business into that institution? The most important thing there is to build a structure around that business. We're going to have follow-on discussions on this topic, because I don't think we can exhaust everything today. We'll have follow-on discussions on this, and we'll bring some more people who will talk more about these things. One of the first structure that you need to build within your business is your finance structure. This is the first and most important structure every business owner needs to build into their business. Most business owners just mix up their finances with personal finance, and then because of that, the finance structure of the business is messed up. And once that is done, you've already killed that business. So your finance structure is very important. It is the first step to you building that institution. Because see, the more you are able to separate all the components and all the features of your business from you personally, right? And you are able to engage professionals to handle those things, the more you build your business into an institution. Because what that means is that this business is no longer running on your mental capacity, on your energy, and on your drive. Is now running on capacity that is beyond you. Because see, you cannot be the best at everything. You cannot be the best at accounting, at HR, at all of those things. You need to get to a point where you're willing to let this thing go to professionals who can actually handle it for you. And because they are professionals, they'll do it much better than you can ever do it. There's someone that an entrepreneur that I was talking to once. He has businesses that are worth millions of dollars, and he said that one of the things that I do best is that I try to ensure that I am the dumbest. I am the dumbest person within my organization. That is, I always hire people that are smarter than me. So he ensures that his accountant is smarter than him when it comes to accounting. He ensures that his HR, human resource officer, is smarter than him when it comes to human resource issues. He ensures that his lawyer is smarter. You need to surround yourself. That's how you really build that institution. Once you begin to lay all of these things as foundations, as the things that you must do, you are sure that you're going to build a business that will stand the test of time. We would have to stop here now because our time is fast spent. However, we would have follow-on conversations. I think next week we'll go deeper into how you build a solid finance structure for your business. How do you separate your personal finance from the finance of your business? Most times that's what kills most businesses, because don't forget what I said. The lifeblood of the business is the finance. That's the money. Now, if you do not separate your business finance from your personal finance, what you do is that you create an avenue for the blood of the business to be flowing out. Now, it's just like you stab the business. Now, imagine you stab somebody and the blood keeps gushing out. The person will die. That's essentially what happens when you do not separate your finance from the business's finances rather, because you then create an avenue for the blood to keep gushing out. Blood to keep gushing out, and once blood that starts gushing out, death is imminent. Yeah. So that's it for today. I don't know if anyone has questions. If you have questions, you can put your questions in the chat box, and take I'll take them. Uh, I don't know if anyone has any question. All right, there's no question. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you have any questions, you can still send it to us at hello@ventoven.com. Also, at Ventoven, we offer professional services around finance, audit, human resource, procurement, IT support, customer service, technology and engineering, and a number of other areas. What we do essentially is we try to help businesses to maximize profit by providing them these services such so that they can now focus on the core of their business. And because they are outsourcing these services to us, it reduces the cost of hosting these services in-house. If you're listening or watching this webinar, maybe you're watching you're watching it live, or you're watching the recording, right? I would advise you that if you are running a business or you plan to run a business, you need to quickly figure out or ensure that you separate your finance from your business's finance. They have to be distinct. So one of the things you can do is put together a small stipend for yourself that the business will be paying you, and don't go beyond that. If the business now begins to make more, then you can increase it on the long run. But if you really want to be getting money from business, put together a stipend, maybe like a salary, something that is enough that you know the business can afford at the stage it is at, so that you can earn money from there. But do not just pull out money from the business as you wish. If you do that, it's as though you're stabbing the business so that the blood can come out, right? And once blood starts flowing out, the next thing is death. All right. It was nice having this conversation with you guys. We'll see again, same time next week. Bye bye.